See that? Alright lads, welcome to today's video. We have upgraded slash downgraded slash changed up the studio behind me. So this is the ASC studio, another YouTube channel slash project we're working on. If you guys want to check it out, check it out. There's a bunch of really sick stuff on there. Usually I film these kind of videos in the podcast studio or at my desk, and I figured since we have this nice setup, it's not a podcast, and we're going to talk about the difference between skiing and snowboarding and what's harder. We should just do it here in the ASC studio. And also, I look absolutely brilliant here. I got a long sleeve underneath the t-shirt. I don't know why, and if you guys can tell me why, then please tell me why. But genuinely, I have no idea. Today's been a little odd. I'm feeling, extra special today, just like my mom always called me. So, as you guys know, you clicked on the title, you clicked on the thumbnail. Hopefully it enticed you enough to come look at my beautiful face. But this video, it's like a basic question, but somehow it just gets asked over and over and over again. And genuinely, there isn't a right or wrong answer to this, but this is my opinion. And the question is, obviously, as you guys will have known by now, or should have known by now, what is harder, skiing or snowboarding? It's kind of like an age-old question. And I personally have done both, skiing and snowboarding. For those of you guys who don't know, I am a freestyle skier and train and make videos and content for freestyle skiing and compete. Hopefully one day we'll be in the Olympics, blasting quads, triples, whatever we're doing by that point, but it's already looking like we're going to be doing quads in the next 5 years. So yeah, but hopefully picking up some tricks and blasting it at the Olympics and X Games. Personally, when I first started skiing, I used to snowboard too. I was a big snowboarder, big skier, and I used to do both. I used to do half a day of skiing, switch to my snowboard, half a day of snowboarding, switch to skis. One full day of skiing, one full day of snowboarding. That was it. I was 50-50 for about 2 years until I decided to switch to skiing. Well, you might be like, why is that important? Well, it's basically like the whole reason why we're having this debate. What's harder, skiing or snowboarding? So, when I was a little kid, I obviously skied more than I snowboarded, but I snowboarded a lot, and I was alright at snowboarding. I wasn't, like, amazing, but I was equally as good as I was at skiing. But then being the little ADHD kid that I am, having a lot of energy, so I got into park skiing and park snowboarding. I got into train parks. Train parks always excited me. I like to push myself. I like to impress people. I just really like competition too, so it kind of it's the way it went. And as I started to get better in the park and get a little more riskier, hitting rails, this was like when I didn't get into skiing and snowboarding until I was like 16, so I was 15, 16, and skiing just came easier, so I stuck with skiing. Also snowboarding, when I got into snowboarding, I ate it pretty hard, and that was one of the reasons I turned to skiing. But in my personal opinion, what's harder for skiing and snowboarding, it all comes down to what your previous experience is, and kind of your dedication to learning what you're doing. So basically what I mean by dedication to...
Yes? Can I help you?
Well, I'm trying to record a video on what's harder, skiing or snowboarding, and you kind of came into the room naked.
I'm trying to get changed.
You can come say hi to the
No, what do you...
Come say hi to the video, don't make it look awkward now.
No.
There's the ass in this video.
I'm trying to get changed.
You're not making this easy for me, Patty. Patty just came out of the shower, and he is just ruining the quality of this video, but that's okay. Dude, you got some seriously nice buns on you, mate.
Thank you. They're nice and crisp from the cold shower.
People are gonna click on this and be like, "Wow, what's better, skiing or snow? Or what's harder to do, skiing or snowboarding?" And they're gonna come here and they're gonna hear about your buns, but that's okay. I'm gonna get back to topic and kind of just sidetrack myself from what's going on in the background of the studio / Pat's room. But yeah, what I was talking about dedication to either skiing or snowboarding is it really comes down to that and your previous experience. So if you're gonna get into snowboarding, I personally believe we'll just run this down quickly, nail it down, my personal opinion, and then we'll get into like why I think this, but I personally think...
Do you have a small penis?
I don't think that bad. Alright, so back to what I was saying. I personally believe that skiing is easier to get the hang of by far. Snowboarding, on the other hand, is a lot harder to get the hang of. But when you get to the point where you're doing, let's say, triples, doubles, corks, like when you're getting really into train park and stuff like that, snowboarding is easier. The reason I say this is because when you're getting to that level in the park, skiing, you're going to have to ski switch. You're going to have to compete skiing switch. You're going to have to do all that stuff switch, which when you're hitting jump switch skiing, you genuinely can't look over your shoulder as much as you can look when you're skiing straight forward. On a snowboard, no matter which direction you're pointed, you're like literally in the same position, no matter what. If you are right, left, switch, right, left, on a snowboard, you are literally in the same position, no matter what. Obviously, not everybody is ambidextrous, and you don't just learn how to ride the opposite direction just like that. It's not the exact same. But when you're skiing and you're actually riding switch skiing, you have to look over your shoulder. And when you look over your shoulder, it also limits a lot of your vision. So you're not able to get as good of a set on tricks. You're not able to see as much when you're coming into features. You're staggered when you're skiing switch, so you can't carve the same. Whereas a snowboard, yes, you're switch, yes, you are facing right foot forward, left foot forward, but you're in the exact same stance that you were in when you were in your natural stance. It's just you're not comfortable with it, so you need to put more time in. And I personally believe that everybody can do everything on each side equally. I don't think there's such thing as being right-handed or left-handed. I personally believe that it's just the amount of time you put into doing one thing one way. If you can do it left, you can do it right. It's like that simple. You just really have to buckle down and put the hours in training. And obviously it's going to be harder to learn it the opposite way, but you can learn it the opposite way, and you can get it equally as good, if not better. So that's why I think snowboarding has the upper hand. Also, I believe snowboarding to be easier to do tricks like triples and quads because you can get a lot of inertia and momentum. And when you're on a snowboard and you're flipping through the air, spinning that much, you're all together. Everything, like, your board's strapped to both your feet. You don't have one ski on one leg, one ski on the other leg, and like you don't have to use your core strength and knees to. Well, you obviously do need to use your core strength to keep the board close to your body to spin faster, but you don't have to do that for each leg. You only have to do that for the board. And if you grab and lock onto the board, right, you are locked in and you are going around. You're set in that rotation. Skiing, on the other hand, if you grab one ski, you can grab one ski perfectly, but the other ski could just be dangling there with the other leg. So you have to work on pulling it up without even grabbing, or just like keeping it in that axis. I think there's a little more variety of grabs and difficulty of grabs you can do on skis when you get to that higher level. Although snowboarding, there is a lot of sick grabs you can do. And there's a lot of blind tricks on a snowboard because you're spinning out the opposite way. I think setting an edge on a snowboard is easier once you get the hang of it. I think it's a lot harder to do at the beginning, but I think once you get the hang of it, you can really set an edge. For skiing, if you're going to do a triple cork, you can't use your edges. You have to be, well, you can, but like it's not recommended. It's recommended that you come into the jump flat based and just a powerful takeoff, whereas snowboarding, you can carve and really set your edges in and get that extra inertia to get you around. I personally think skiing is a lot easier to learn at the beginning, because when you're learning skiing at the beginning, most people have done the action of skiing before, right? You're facing forward, you're either rollerblading, you're hockey skating, like people have done that motion before. That's why I said if you come from a background where you skateboard or wakeboard a lot, snowboarding might be very easy to catch on to, but if you don't, it's going to be the hardest for sure. Also, skiing, there's no heavy front edge slams. You don't catch your front edge and you go straight to your face, conky yourself, break your goggles. You don't catch your back edge and go straight to your back and conky yourself and break your helmet, because goggles aren't in the back of your head unless you're doing things wrong. Or right, it depends. Honestly, if you are going to snowboard, if you're going to learn to snowboard, depending on how good you are, you're going to pick it up quick, but you're going to eat so much crap that first week. Like, that first week, for me, like, it was like at least 3 to 4 days of just face slam, until you like really get the hang of snowboarding. And then once you get the hang of it, it's like once in a while you catch that front end, you just go, or the back end, you go, badass sound effects. But like, you know what I mean? Like, it's gonna happen no matter how good you are. You're gonna catch your edge. And skiing too, you're gonna also catch your edge when you go slow down. Snowboarding, it's way more prevalent, especially when you're beginning. When you're getting into skiing, it also makes a lot more sense to kind of slow down or bail out. Like if you can't stop yourself skiing and you don't know how to stop and you can't slow down, you can just lie on your back or sit in your butt or like just tip over. Snowboarding, when you get flat based and you're just beginning to learn how to snowboard and you can't set your heel edge or your toe edge and you're just going down the hill and you don't want to fall over because you're going too fast, you don't want to fall back and sit down because you're going too fast and you can't sit down, you're literally just going to ride down the hill, gaining speed until you eventually catch your front edge or back edge and, well, you know, just absolutely eat it. I personally think that when you get into snowboarding, as long as you're a competent snowboarder, it's easier to learn rails than it is skiing, just because you have a lot more under base and it doesn't require as much balance as opposed to skiing. Obviously, it does require a lot of balance, and when you get to a higher level, it requires probably, I would say, equal amounts, if not more balance. But at the beginning, I think snowboarding, learning how to hit rails on snowboard is easier when you're beginning, as long as you know how to snowboard competently before. If you come in and you've done like a week of snowboarding and you try to hit a rail, you're going to have a harder time than skiing, I think. But if you come into snowboarding with like a year of snowboarding, just hitting groomers, getting comfortable, you can ride switch and forward, and you're like just a competent snowboarder, hitting rails is going to come a little quicker than skiing. The reason for that is because you don't have to go sideways on it. Even if you're board sliding it or you're 50-50ing it. It's just common sense that a snowboard is a lot wider than skis. And depending on what rails you're hitting, whether they're skinny handrails or tubes, you have a lot more contact points on the rail. The only problem with snowboarding is you can't pretzel. So if you get on the rail and you're not set on the rail really well, you didn't lock in really well when you first jumped on the rail, you might fall off early, but most of the rails you're going to be hitting when you're just starting out aren't big enough that it's going to hurt you. If you fall off early, you're just going to hop off and keep riding. You're not going to make it to the end. You're going to be a little disappointed. If girls see you do that, they're probably not going to ask for your number, but if you make it to the end of the rail, then they might. So it's really hard to get when you're first getting into skiing and hitting rails. So when you're getting into jumps, park jumps, I think skiing is personally a lot easier than snowboarding. You don't have to learn how to take off on your edges when you're starting to learn how to hit jumps. Skiing, snowboarding, like I said, when you get down the line, having those edges and setting those edges on big tricks and big jumps helps a lot. But when you're just getting into it and you don't know how to carve off a jump, you don't have to know how to pop and carve, you don't know how to set your edge, it is hard as hell. And you're just going to go off that jump and you might get a little uncentered in the air, and since you're on a snowboard, like I said, easier to flip faster because everything's locked in. Also a lot harder to get yourself back on center or get a foot on the ground. So if you hit the jump and you go a little off axis and you're like a little wobbly, you're either going to your butt or your stomach and you're not going to be able to help it. Skiing, you might be able to land on one leg and like tip over, or you might be able to catch yourself with like a leg and an arm. Snowboarding, you're gonna eat it. You're just simply you're gonna go down hard and it's gonna hurt and people are gonna laugh. So it's definitely a little harder to get into jumps when you're snowboarding. If I'm being completely honest, I think once you get to the higher levels where you are doing triple corks and double corks, snowboarding might be that little bit easier when you get to that level, but not by much at all. If anything, it's very, very equal. So it doesn't matter what you guys decide to pick when you're getting into each. You just need to pick something that you like and something you feel comfortable with. If you think snowboarding's cooler, go snowboarding. If you think skiing's cooler, go skiing. If you want to do both, by all means. I personally wish I did a lot more snowboarding when I was a kid. I wish I was just as good at snowboarding as I am at skiing. Some snowboarders are probably vice versa, although I think most skiers are a little more envious of snowboarders than snowboarders are of skiers, because snowboarding is a little cooler and they get paid a little more and there's a lot more honey. So just an idea for you kids, if you don't know which one to pick, keep those in mind for snowboarding. I hope this kind of cleared things up for you guys. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. What's harder, skiing or snowboarding? Like I said, I've done both growing up, and a lot of people have too. And I'd like to hear what you guys have to think and have to say about it, because it's a very interesting topic. I think depending on who you are, where you come from, your athletic ability, one's going to be harder or easier than the other. Skiing by far is going to be the easiest one to pick up at the beginning, but once you get farther down the line, I think snowboarding, it kind of equals out. Maybe snowboarding gets a tiny bit easier, but don't hold me to that. If you guys want to check out any of the content that I do, I host an action sports podcast, mainly with snow sports athletes like freestyle skiers, snowboarders, and just a bunch of badass people in general. So check out the podcast, Banged Up with Bruce Oldham. It'll either be down below or it'll be in the YouTube channel, like in one of the playlists. So, you guys can figure it out. Also subscribe and give this video a thumbs up because it helps me out. And yeah, check out the ASC because, boys, I'm telling you, ladies too, if you're watching this video, we have some huge things planned for you guys there, and it doesn't just sound as lame as it sounded right there. Like, lots of really, really big plans. So check it out. It is the Action Sports Community on Facebook if you want to join the Action Sports Community group. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next episode of Bruce Talks About Random Stuff on the Internet. This is a little kiss for all the snowboard honeys. Mwah, mwah. I'm out. Deuces.